Action.
Welcome. Thank you guys all for being here to the third annual Collegepalooza. We have 3 guest panelists here to speak with you this afternoon to talk to you about the ins and outs of college life. We have Narda, Lorena, and David. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Narda, we'll begin with you, and Lorena and David will talk with you as well. Narda, if you wouldn't mind sharing with us a little bit about yourselves for the panelists.
So I am a current employee here. I'm a case worker too with the city of Phoenix, and I work here in the center. I'm going on almost 5 years now. I graduated from school back in 2015, so since I've been out of school, I've been here. I went to Cornell College in Mount Vernon, Iowa, so I went to school out of state.
Okay, thank you so much, Lorena. We'll hear from you. Can you share us a little bit about your experience and your story?
Yeah, so my name is Lorena Mejia. I am a former College Depot staff. A few years ago, I worked here. It was an amazing experience. I went to undergrad. I did my undergrad at ASU, and then I also received my master's just in 2018, so like 2 years ago, from ASU as well.
Thank you so much. And David, last but not least, can we hear from you?
Yeah, my name is David. I was a former employee as well with the same role as Lorena. I'm also an ASU alumni, graduated with a major in business administration and a minor in communication. And I'm a current ASU graduate student, which is pursuing my public administration degree. So currently I'm pursuing that. I'm currently a student. So yeah, like if you have questions about the graduate experience, you can also let me know. But yeah, that's my background.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, Narda, you're first up. Can you tell us a little bit about how to buy and where to buy cheap textbooks?
So with all the resources that we have online now, I would highly recommend you look at some of the cheap websites that are available. Our center does actually offer a list of the top 10 sites that you can go to get cheap books if you prefer the online version of it. If you prefer the physical books, I know I definitely prefer to leaf through a book. There are bookstores and websites where you can get those books for cheap. I know David over here, when he went to undergrad, he was able to get all of his books very cheap, a lot less expensive than I did. So I think he would also be able to add more insight to books.
No, yeah. So the good thing about me attending ASU does do price matching for the books. So eventually, if you do find a cheaper book, you can always work with the bookstore at your school. What I also did was rent books. I was able to rent books through Amazon, found the cheaper method, rented it. It was an easy process. They provided me every step of the way instructions to return that book. So it was really easy for me. So in comparison, looking at a new book, let's say it costs $300, I was able to get a rental for $60. Use it for the semester, return it. And the best way that I saw is that the first semester I attended ASU, I bought all my books new. By the third semester, they were dusted away. Never used them. So that's where I saw the positivity in renting the books, just because use it once. If I like it, I would stay with it. If I don't have to use it again, then it gives me the opportunity to return the book. Eventually saves me $60 with the margin of $300, which made it very affordable too. So I don't know if you want to add something, but that's my method of purchasing books.
I completely agree with David and Narda. I would also recommend making friends at the college level. Sometimes you will have other peer members that might have already taken that class, or even older siblings, family members, anything like that, reaching out, because there are times where professors, although they might require a very specific textbook from the 3rd edition, they might be also willing to take 2nd or 1st edition. So reaching out to your professors as well ahead of time if you want to purchase them, and being like, is it okay if I purchase the 2nd edition? And if you know someone who has like an older edition, then that way you can save some money as well.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that did happen. I also did that too. I think you recommended for me to do it, but I was able to go through Facebook, OfferUp, those social media sites to see if they're selling those books. And the best way, also, like the reason I did this was because that class is not the only class that was offered for that year. Like she said, there's 1st and 2nd edition books, so it was a good way to go through the sites, see if they're offering them at a cheaper rate, and that's where I was able to get cheaper books too. So college could be affordable in regards to purchasing books. You just gotta find out which way to go through. And like Narda said, College Depot does have the top 10 methods of buying books, so you could always check their resources out too.
Okay, great. Thank you all very much for all of those wonderful answers. Okay, we'll move on to the next question. What do professors mean by office hours, and how do you schedule those appointments?
Well, for the most part, when a professor says they have open office hours, those are specific times that they have allotted throughout the day to meet with the student. So they can be either in their office or in the classroom or a specific area where they will sit and then have an open door where a student can walk in and ask them any questions that they want. Because of our current situation right now with the COVID-19, most professors have to offer their office hours via Zoom or WebEx or an online platform. You are able to go ahead and log on and access your professor through a 2, maybe 3-hour window that they have. Having said that, there might be a time when the student or the professor is not able to attend the office hours because they have other personal things going on or other academic things. If it's an urgent situation, I would recommend you call the professor if you have that sort of relationship with them or access to their phone, or you can call them online as well during the office hours. But if it's an offhand question that you have, you can go ahead and email your professor and they'll be able to answer your question when they have the time available.
Okay, great. Thank you. Lorraine or David, do you have anything you would like to add to that?
I would highly encourage students to take advantage of those office hours, just because that's like the perfect time where a professor can get to know you, get to know your interests. And especially if you're thinking of going on in terms of like medical school, graduate school, anything like that, a lot of schools require professor recommendations or teacher recommendations. And if they don't really know you, they aren't able to do that. So if you go to their office hours, they're more likely to remember you, get to know you a little bit more, and be able to write that letter of recommendation.
Yeah, I highly encourage that, just because it does give you the opportunity to be having that communication with your professor, just for the purpose that when you do have that communication, like Nara said, you get to know more the professor, and the professor gets to know you. And when it does come to letter recommendations, they could also recommend what classes to take for your career too. Another thing, very good source of communication in regards to resources are outside of the school as well. I would also recommend to check the syllabus, just because right now with COVID-19, a lot of things could change. The new normal could become more virtual. So with that communication style, currently with my class, which is online for my graduate program, professors are available through email, phone call, and it's on the syllabus. Also, there's TAs available, and the TAs are also more accessible as well. So it's always asking the question with TA. TA could answer your questions. If they can't, they're always escalated to the professor. So that communication, I highly encourage it, just because if you do have doubts or you had questions about your material, either the TA or the professor will be able to assist you. And then with that, that's pretty much the availability of what the office hours are all about.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we will keep going right along. Narda, this is a question for you. What is a study abroad like, and how do you go about studying abroad?
So when I attended school, I did study abroad in its various different ways, and I'll explain that. The first time that I went abroad, I went to China, but I was there to work. I was there to work and go to school. So I sort of sought the opportunity out on my own. I met with a recruiter, I met with the school, and then I paid my own way to get to the country. Once I was there, I worked and then I studied on the side. When I came back to the United States, when I came back to my school, I was on campus for about a month, and that's when I did my first official study abroad program, and that was an advanced English class my junior year, and we ended up going to Italy for about a month and a half. The process to go through your school is most schools have a study abroad office or some sort of department that will assist you in finding a program and paying for your classes to go abroad. My school was really, really small, so it was mostly They have a hallway where it's just all these photos and images of places that you can go and study depending on your degree, your career, the major, or maybe what you want to focus on. So I suggest that you seek that out at your school. You can look at different platforms as well. When I went to my first study abroad, that was Italy, and I was with a small cohort. There were about 10 students in our classroom for about a month and a half. A year and a half after that, around my first semester of my senior year, I did another study abroad, and that was out of the country with different schools. I did semester at sea, and it's exactly what it sounds like. I did a semester on board a cruise ship for 108 days, a full fall semester. What we did is you had to apply. They had about 600 students from across the globe, and about 200 to 300 different universities, and they would all board the cruise ship and they would just go ahead and travel around the Atlantic Ocean. So we visited about 16 different countries, and while I was on the cruise ship, I was able to take my required classes to complete my senior year. So I completed both my politics classes, a biology and a Spanish course. That was mostly for fun. In order to register for the studying abroad, I had to make sure that all my classes back at my home school would be able to transfer out to a different school. So what I mean by that is I had to make sure that the Spanish, the politics, and the biology classes that I took on the cruise ship would be able to transfer to my home school so that I would receive the credit. So there is work that goes into it. You have to do the research, the kinds of classes that you need to take, the kind of program that you want. Do you want to go for a week, for a month, for a year? Do you want to focus on one area like the languages or arts or English or math? Do you want to explore a variety of options? So I want you to think about those things for yourself, and then go to your school and then see if they have a study abroad department or a person that you can get in contact with to start thinking about all these things that you want for yourself. And I do have to say that time is of the essence. These programs are typically not cheap, but there are a lot of scholarships and assistance out there for those who look for it.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Lorena, you are up. Can you tell us the difference between high school classes and college classes?
Yeah, so good question. So high school classes, you're usually in smaller groups, anywhere from 20 to maybe even 30 students in a class. Usually have a teacher that's there to assist you. You have a lot more one-on-one interaction. You're able to access them a little bit more than probably you would at the college level. College level, there can be a range of different classes or class sizes. That might change a little bit due to the whole COVID situation, but usually you'll have like your core classes, your math, your sciences. You usually will cap them anywhere from 20 to 30 students, just to make sure that students are successful, especially during their freshman year. But there can be classes as big as like 100 students, like psychology courses or anything like that. In the college level, it's up to you to kind of seek out that help if you need help. So you might have classes where they're a little bit more lecture based, where you're taking notes, the teacher's just giving you the information. There will be classes where professors might not take attendance, but they might have different ways of kind of taking participation points, things like that. So college is a little bit more on you, on the individual, on the student, so it's more student-based in that sense. The high school level, it's a little bit more hands-on. The teachers are reminding you, hey, you need to turn in this assignment, or hey, you have a test tomorrow. College level, you will receive a syllabus at the beginning of the year. You will have professors that are really nice and remind you often, like, hey, you will have a test coming up next month, or you have a project due in the next few weeks. but there are professors that will remind you when it's almost the due date. So again, that's it's kind of important to have everything kind of written down, and I love to have everything written down through like my phone or an agenda, just to make sure that I did not miss those due dates, because it's not fun to be able to like miss a test or an assignment accidentally. In terms of grades, high school, you have a lot more assignments that you might potentially do. In college level, you might have less assignments, but they might have a lot more impact in your grade. So I remember a class where the class consisted of just 4 tests. So if you did really bad on one, that could really affect your grade. There were some classes that part of it, half of it was like participation points, so you going in, so they really encouraged that, versus some were a mixture of both. So.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll keep moving right along. Lorena, can you tell us about how to choose the right major and if you're in the right major?
That is, I feel like, the hardest question for everyone.
I agree with you. My mom picked mine, so.
Yeah.
It's as hard as
sometimes
like,
that happens. Right.
Yeah. It's as hard as the question, what will you be up when you grow up? I think as you get to know yourself, as you grow into the person that you are, you will change, and it's okay to change. I think taking as many classes within that major and other majors and volunteering will really help you out to see whether that's the correct degree or major for yourself. For example, I was set that I was going to be a pediatrician. That's what I wanted to do. I thought little kids were really, really cute. But then I did a volunteer project at a place where they took in foster children, and I was like, I'll volunteer with the 0 to 3 kids, and then I realized I did not know what to do with them, and it was really overwhelming. So I was like, oh, maybe pediatrician is not the best area for me. And then I started taking different classes, and I realized that I really enjoyed working with students. And so that kind of led me to do other volunteer work, and I realized that, oh, hey, I wanted to become a teacher. So it's okay to change, take as many classes. It's okay to take electives. Maybe you don't realize that you're a very good dancer, and by taking a dance class, you might realize like, hey, maybe I can do something with dance.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I graduated with a business degree, and I'm in education, so that tells you a lot about how my paths changed. When I went for business, well, I didn't go for business. My mom chose business, so that means that I had to go through with business. But when I was taking my business classes, my business courses, and eventually assuming I'll be graduating at ASU with a business degree, which I did, was eventually have a job in stock. I did like the numbers. I did like doing business. I like investing, like the whole mindset, the whole lifestyle of investing, having your own portfolio and stuff like that. When I started going through school and started taking those classes, I also started doing internships, and eventually an internship with AmeriCorps here at College Depot. It's where my mindset started changing and with helping the community. So with that change in mindset, eventually my conversation with myself was that I'm maturing. So eventually with the mindset I had of getting that business degree, is most likely like, what can I do to change this community? Me coming from a low-income family, first generation here in America, and also pursuing an education and getting that education, it does change. Just because you see, it's like a survival remorse that you have, is that you're pursuing your dreams and goals, and then your community is still where it's at. So it's one of those things that being in this position, being able to help your community is what started changing my mentality. So that's where my graduate program, which is in public administration, is one of those things that I could learn and start applying. And also, the biggest thing about public administration is where you start learning about data, and that data helps you understand what's going on with the world. And once you're able to figure out what's wrong with your society or what's wrong with your community, you're able to do that needs analysis of where you could provide that information, or where you could provide the resources, where it's actually going to benefit the community. So that's where, from the start, selling stock, now I'm selling myself to the community to make sure that that investment that's being made to the community is actually going to benefit the community. So you can see like start to end.
Yeah.
Well, not end. I'm still going through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where my major was eventually in business. I ended up graduating, and then eventually I had the opportunity to change it. I thought about changing it midway. The only thing is that I was really close to graduating, so by the time that I wanted to change it, it was too late for me. So I'd rather stick with the business degree, and that also gonna help me. But eventually, I was persuaded with what I could do is making sure that I pursue that public administration degree. So 2022 might see me walk through ASU, but yeah, that's my response on that.
Thank you very much. Okay, Lorena, last question for you. Will you make friends? That's always a question that the students want to know. Going on to a new world.
What's that saying? You have 3 choices. You can only choose 2.
I think, yes, you will make friends. It's gonna be up to you. I was a very shy kind of a person. Talking to someone would freak me out. I would start sweating and I didn't know what to do. But one of the best advice that I got from someone was, first day when you sit down, turn to the person next to you, if there's someone near you, and say, hi, my name is blank, 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 this is my major. And you just never know. Some of my best friends, that's what I did. I was like, okay, small steps. I would turn to the person next to me who was like, hey, my name is Lorena. I am a freshman. I'm studying psychology. And they would be like, oh, me too. Or we would just try to make small talk. So just putting yourself out there, can be really hard, can be really challenging, but you just never know. I was able to meet amazing people that helped me grow and helped me pursue different things that I might have not. So it is, you just have to put yourself out there.
Yeah, and I got that same experience too, and I like how you mentioned that you get to like learn new things, learn more about them, learn about yourself, and then I got to learn there's Thai food. I didn't know Thai food existed when I was in high school.
Oh,
that was a good way because a friend that I met in my communications class, she was from Bangladesh. She was traveling abroad, so eventually she was homesick. We got to hang out after class, and she took me to go get some Thai food, and then she told me more about her culture, and I was like, oh, like this is really interesting. Like, so it's one of those things that's a good way to make friends. Like Lorena said, like it's not that you go with the mentality of saying, all right, my name is David, how are you? It's, hey, how's it going? Like, are you excited for this class? And the conversation's like, oh no, I'm so scared. But whatever the response is there, and that's how the conversation will go.
Sure.
It's pretty nice because in college, I don't know, you guys probably like agree with me, but once you start class, especially a lecture class, it's like 300 students. I don't know if this exists or if it's in a book somewhere, but there's like an unspoken rule that once you sit in that chair, every single class in the future, nobody will take that chair away from you.
Yeah.
So eventually it means that you'll have the same person with you almost every single class. So you start building that bond. Eventually when you start having group assignments, you start asking the person next to you, you have that commonality with the student. Also, like when we're talking about office hours TAs, eventually if you can't get a hold of them, you can always ask your new friend.
Yeah.
Also, with those 300 lecture classes, don't feel overwhelmed, but you have labs. So eventually you have a set time of that class to go more in detail with the material. And sometimes the students who do sign up are usually the students around you.
Sure.
So it's a great way. Every school has clubs and organizations, so eventually it's not one of those things that you just show up for the meeting. You actually show up, participate, and now eventually they have volunteer stuff to do for you. So it's a great way. A lot of school will give you the opportunity to make friends. You just, like Lorena said, put yourself out there and it will come out to be a success for the student.
I do want to add. I do want to add on top of that.
Yeah.
I based on the classes, we did have a very different experience. Just because I went to it's a private liberal arts schools. The cap amount of students that I would have in a classroom would be about 30, and that was a lot. We typically had a classroom size about 19 to 22. 30 was like a max class. When Lorena said put yourself out there, a lot of students might be like, well, what does that look like? When I first started school, I was 1,700 miles away from home. I am painfully shy. So being in an environment where it's cold, I don't know anyone, the weather's different, the individuals are different, I'm away from home, and I'm young and I'm shy. Like, how do I put myself out there? To be honest, I made friends several different ways. The biggest part that I look back now is I was adopted. I was adopted by social people. In terms of like a social group, like I had some of my closest friends now were some who are really out there and who are very engaging and charismatic and whatnot. And they're like, hey, like I see you, like do you want to sit and eat with me? Do you want to grab like a coffee? If they saw me studying at the library or after class or during class, and I'm like, yeah, like I guess, let's go. The way I learned to put myself out there, I'm not the kind of person that is able to walk up to a person and say like, hi, like I'm Narda, or like I'm in this classroom when I'm studying, etc. The way I learned to put myself out there was by attending clubs and orgs, because off the bat you're already in a room full of individuals and students who already have a passion or an interest in what you have a passion in. It's so much easier to spark a conversation or to engage in one when they're already talking about things that you are interested in. I joined so many clubs my freshman year. I was in French club, dance club, Hola club because I was passionate about the Latino awareness. I joined French club because I wanted to learn the language, dance club because I wanted to learn how to dance. That's how I found out I'm not a great dancer, but I loved it and I stuck with that club for 4 years. That's also how I found out other students and other career opportunities. Going back a little bit to the question about the degrees, I changed my major 6 different times. And I went into school knowing exactly what I was going to study. Do not talk to me about it. Don't even ask me anything. I know I'm going to get a major in business, in finance, history, and French because that's what I wanted. And then by my second year, everything had changed. All the friends that I had made in those specific degrees that I wanted to get were so different. But by being able to meet all these other friends who had different degree or career choices, I was able to expand what I didn't know about. I didn't know that you could work abroad. I didn't know all these different types of careers out there because these other friends, these other individuals that I came across with were able to introduce and open up a whole new world for me. So if anyone has a question about how do you put yourself out there, because it's not just as easy as walking up to a person, I understand that. Join clubs, join activities. It's a sure way to at least be around individuals that are like-minded, but it's also a great way for you to open up your doors and expand your mind. And to be honest, my best friend in the whole wide world, when we first met, we did not like each other. That is how we met. We looked at each other and we're like, I already do not like you. Do not look in my direction. Someone said a joke. Someone said a George Lopez joke, I think. And I chuckled internally and she chuckled too. And we looked across the room. We're the only ones that laughed and we're like, okay, we're friends now. This is going to work out. So I know it's scary. Even if you go home 10 miles away or 1,500 miles away, it's scary no matter how far you are away from home. But it is going to happen. But you do have to open yourself up and be vulnerable to meeting, like having a chance encounter, looking up from your book, from your desk, and making that awkward eye contact with the person, or seeing someone and commenting, hey, I like your shoes. Your suit looks very nice. Having them smile and engage, they might engage back. And maybe you don't have a friend for life, but it feels so good to walk down the halls of your school and hey, like, I remember seeing you. I don't really know your name right now, but it feels good to know that I know you and you know me. Maybe down the line we'll get to know each other more. But now you have that awareness of like, okay, I at least recognize faces in this hall, in this class, at this school. It's easier to settle in.
Thank you so much. Okay, David, we're on to you. Can you tell us about what you should do between now and day 1 of school?
Yeah, so currently what are we in? In the month of almost approaching July, are we in July? I don't even know anymore with COVID-19, but so what many students should be doing, specifically if you're either transferring to an institution or going as your first year, is making sure you have access to your accounts. So whatever institution you're going to, ASU, NEU, U of A, community colleges, or out of state, it's making sure you have access to that account. That account for many schools will be your best friend because that's where you're going to see your grades, notifications, financial aid. What else? You also see any support that you need, the resources would be in those accounts. And many times students don't know about that, so we usually see a lot of students that require assistance a day before when they didn't access their accounts. So from now, they have to make sure the deadlines, when the deadlines are, making sure they submit their financial aid if there is any additional information that they need to complete. Making sure that you get your classes, gotta make sure you're going to school. Reach out to your academic advisor, making sure that you're aware of, you have an email from your school. If you don't have the email going to your personal account, you should probably consider accessing your account to see what kind of emails you've been receiving, because you probably get notification about events that are occurring, or at the same time what to be precautious or safety or anything like that. So from now, it's making sure that you get that information ready through your account, and also making sure you see the deadlines of admissions, first day of class, financial aid, and eventually making sure that you do make it on time for your first day of class. Also, to add to that, it's making sure that you're preparing yourself for school. Still continue reading, continue preparing yourself. For those students who are going to be living on campus, making sure that you have your material available. It could be your sheets, your bed sheets, to either a laptop or eventually shoes. But right now is the time to start thinking about your first day of class, because it could come by fast. We are coming up with the first day of class in August. So it's one of those things that we should start, well, not me, I'm already done with school, but it's one of those things that the students should start considering and thinking about the first day of class.
And now knowing with the first day of class, how do you balance school, work life, social work, extracurricular activities all in one?
No, I'm glad you asked me that question. That was the joke I was referring to. These three, it's funny because when I started classes, I got an email from a school when I was first applying to all the schools that I wanted to go to, and they gave me three options to say, oh, you have work, social life, extra activities. You can only choose two out of the three. So what that means is that you either choose your school, your friends, or your work.
Wow.
So eventually I had to choose school and work, because this is really important to understand that once you become a student, you have responsibilities. It's not the same environment in high school, because high school you see the same student for the 4 years. Eventually, if you went through middle school with them, you eventually see them in high school, you make those bonds, those connections. Eventually you're pursuing to get a high school diploma. Now, with the responsibility of tuition and fees, also becoming an adult, you have more responsibilities, more decisions to make. So eventually when you make those decisions, you have to consider yourself and not your surroundings. So by saying that, it's making sure that if you do have school, making sure you make that as a priority. If you do have work, eventually priority. Eventually the friends, if you do make them a priority, that's where your other two get jeopardized. But what I would like to say is that if your friends do understand the goals that you're trying to achieve, they would understand the time that you have to take in regards to work and school. If they can't understand that, then I would recommend to consider other options of friends. But that's the best way to see it. That's how I did it. Eventually, like what I like to say now, you suffer now, eventually the rewards are greater later. But yeah, that's a good way to see it. Eventually time management, I think Lorena is really good at that, and she probably talk more about it, but it's making sure that phones are easy to access. Right now I can ask, hey Siri, remind me this tomorrow, and that's a really good way to notify me of events that I have for the future. And it's just using those little tools, because your memory gets worse the more you get. I'm 25, so eventually that says a lot. But yeah, having an agenda, having a calendar, making sure that you're disciplined with that, it'll go a long way. So time management and making sure you know what your priorities are.
Thank you so much. We have an open time for questions. Any last minute comments you guys want to share before we wrap up?
You want to go more in detail this last time?
I don't have, are there any questions you think the students might want to know more about?
And I think that will be a great time for us to talk about that in the future. But I think for now, we're pretty much done for today. And I really thank you guys all for your time. And I look forward to talking with you guys in the future. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.